Morning. Welcome back. How's everyone doing? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, big earnings week is right. Big earnings week. Earnings season. And I think the Rangers play today, yeah. I'm going to try to go to one of the games in the Garden. Hopefully. No, they don't play today. They play tomorrow. All right. Tomorrow. Tomorrow at Devils. Yeah, Knicks won. That was a good game. I watched that one. I mean, I would have to probably go to the Saturday, April 22nd in the Garden. That might be the one to go to. No floods in Brickell. It was all in Fort Lauderdale, actually. All the flooding was north in Lauderdale. If you guys saw pictures of the Fort Lauderdale airport, it looked like a lake. That was crazy. I don't know how they haven't figured out how to not make a national airport to flood. I mean, how have they not figured that out? How does an airport flood on a normal rain day? That's crazy to me. I don't know what happened. All right, so welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone had a good weekend. If you had some fun this weekend, good. All right, you got to enjoy those weekends. Got to enjoy that time off. Had a nice little Miami weekend over here, so that was fun. It was exciting. Went to the beach, a little bit of tan. So it was a nice, relaxing weekend. Hopefully, you guys had the same. Good refresher. Ready for some opportunities this week. Ready for some nice opportunities this week. Nice earnings. Hopefully, some nice price action. And some major levels to be watching. NQES, NASDAQ, S&P sitting at some major supply levels to be watching this week. Going to be very interesting to see how it moves outside of those levels. Have a feeling, just that first Monday morning feeling that we're probably going to have to wait for some major catalysts, major earnings to really get a move on this market. So tomorrow we have Netflix. Wednesday we have Tesla. I'm going to assume that we might need to wait for that Netflix and Tesla earnings to really see a move on this market. I'm going to assume that that's probably what the market is waiting for. So does today not really show us much as we approach into that Netflix and Tesla earnings? Maybe. That's my first thought as I approach today. That's my first, that's sort of the thing that's on my mind, saying, okay, maybe today's not that hot. Tomorrow we have Netflix. Wednesday we have Tesla. Those are two big tech earnings, or at least big for the NASDAQ. And that's probably where we see the continuation move start to happen. That's probably where the action starts to heat up. So do I want to take it a little bit light today? Possibly, right? It's new week, new, fresh start, Monday morning. Let's get a good feel for the price action. If it's not that hot today, we can look forward to some continuation on Netflix earnings, Tesla earnings, etc. So that's my Monday morning feel. Doesn't mean it's right, but that's just sort of what's on my head, at least for now. So I wanted to share that. What else? Haven't even looked at the economic calendar this morning, actually. I've totally failed to look at that myself. So let's just go ahead and get started and look at all this ourselves together. So today's the 17th, guys. Welcome back. Thank you again for being here. Press that like button if you guys could to start out the video with some nice likes. Get some more people in this live stream. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the live streams. Hopefully you learn something from it. So press that like button and subscribe if you're new here. Futures economic earnings calendar. Let's go ahead and start with that earnings or that economic calendar, and then we'll jump into the earnings calendar, which is really the interesting thing. So today, not really that much. Empire State Manufacturing, Home Builder Confidence Index, nothing really that's going to move the market here. Tomorrow, honestly, not much either. Housing starts, building permits. That's really not that important. You do have some Fed presidents speaking, but, I don't expect that much off these. So today, tomorrow, not really that heavy. Beige book, not that heavy. Fed president speaking at 7 p.m. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, nothing that heavy. Thursday, we got our normal jobless claims to see how the market moves off that. A lot of Fed presidents speaking, and then services PMI on Friday. So nothing that wild here on the economic side this week. It's probably going to be mainly focused on the earnings calendar as we approach that this week. I don't really see much that's really catches my eye here on the economic calendar this week. So just our normal jobless claims every Thursday, as you guys know. Some home data, existing home sales, housing starts, home builder confidence index. So a little bit of housing, real estate information coming out. That really seems to be the heavy stuff. Next week, GDP on Thursday, PCE on Friday. So pretty light on the economic side this week. Pretty light. Nothing, no CPIs, no FOMCs, nothing major like that this week. So that's that. If we go over to the earnings calendar, shout out Breadman, as always. Thank you for posting this, as always, Breadman. Let's go ahead and pull that up here. So big earnings. Earnings begins. Welcome to earnings season, my friends. Here it is. So today, nothing really. A few more banks, a few more regional banks to come through. Nothing crazy. Tomorrow morning, Bank of America, big bank, Johnson & Johnson, Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin, BNY Mellon. So just some more banks. Nothing major. Again, especially not on the tech side. So a little bit of banks, a few Dow names, Johnson & Johnson, Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin. So some of those names. Netflix is the big tech one to watch. Tomorrow after close, Tuesday after close, Netflix earnings. That's going to be on a lot of people's watch. So let's see what happens there. Wednesday morning, Morgan Stanley, Ally, nothing really crazy there. Some more banks as we get through the banks. As you guys know, the banks always start the earnings season. And then Wednesday after close, the big one is Tesla. Tesla earnings Wednesday after close. That's going to be very interesting to see how that comes through. Thursday before open, TSM. So that'll be pretty important for the semiconductor sector. That'll start out the semiconductor move, the earnings. So TSM, that'll be pretty interesting to see Thursday morning. American Express. So we'll see some payment processors come through. Obviously, we'll have MasterCard. We'll have Amex, MasterCard. What's the other one? Visa. That's the other one. So we'll see those payment processors start. Nothing major on Thursday and nothing major on Friday. So really the big highlights, some big banks like Goldman Sachs, Bank of America. Those are important to watch. Netflix, Tesla, important to watch. And I think that TSM will be interesting to see as well for the semiconductor sector. All right. So that's that. That's the earnings today. Nothing to really worry about. So let's pay attention. Yeah, ASML on Wednesday. Yeah. ASML on Wednesday. Missed that one. Yeah. So that's your chips right there. ASML, TSM, Wednesday, Thursday. You guys can see right here. Wednesday, Thursday, we'll start your chips. All right. That's that. So Tesla, 190. Big level to watch this week as we approach earnings. Really not interested in trading Tesla so much before earnings. As you guys know, please keep this in mind. As we approach earnings, if you guys are trading stocks that are reporting earnings this week, you will have to expect a higher implied volatility. Before you trade Tesla this week, before you trade Netflix this week, before you trade anything that reports earnings this week, look at what the IV is on the contracts. It will most likely be high, and it will be most likely not in your favor to be trading those options contracts. So please be careful, right? A high IV ideally is not really where you want to be buying option contracts. A bigger move is required for you to make the same amount. So careful on that. Make sure you're understanding that before you trade Tesla this week, before you trade Netflix this week. If you're trading those tech names, make sure to check out the implied volatility. But we can still watch some levels. So Tesla 190 is a big level to watch. Microsoft, some upside this morning, a positive catalyst for them above this key 290 level. I want to point that out. We're going to look at Nvidia, AMD, TSM, a few semiconductors to check out. Apple 166. The positive catalyst for Microsoft is a negative catalyst for Google this morning. So let's look at Google. A major 109 rejection on Google is still setting up. Meta, very interesting chart on Meta. I'm very intrigued to see what happens here. Meta has been on this really slow grind to the upside, right into some major daily chart levels. So it's going to get a little spicy, I think, on Meta once earnings is released. I'm going to be very cautious trading Meta before earnings. I think it's probably in the best interest to just wait for that earnings to be released and then play the continuation, because Meta is on this really slow, low volume grind to the upside. And at this point, you need some kind of catalyst, I think, to heat things up. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about the XLF, the financial ETF, the financials in general. The XLF has pushed up into a major supply level, something that you have to be watching if you are trading the banks. All right? So that's our little spiel this morning. Let's go ahead and start out with the futures. All right? As always, let's do the futures. Let's get started. Welcome back again, guys. Thank you for being here. If you're just stopping in, press that like button if you could. Early morning likes, always the best. And here we go. So, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Both the NASDAQ and the ES, in my eyes, are sitting at some major supply levels. And it is very difficult for me as a short-term trader and someone who really trusts supply and demand levels. It's very difficult to look for upside this morning. It is very difficult to get behind an upside move. On the NASDAQ, we can see that we have sort of been chilling over the last 2 days. We're just chilling honestly, over all of last week. Every single day of last week, we tested 13,200. That's very interesting, actually. Look at this. So this is Monday, right? Monday, in the pre-market, we tested 13.2. In the after hours, we tested it again. Tuesday, right? That Tuesday morning, tested 13.2, rejected. Wednesday, came up, tested 13.2, rejected. Thursday, even though we started all the way down at demand, came all the way back up, tested 13.2, supply, rejected. Friday was down, bounced, tested 13.2, 13.250 supply, rejected. Came up again at close, rejected. In the pre-market this morning, into 13.2, rejected. So, is there any sense in going long up here at supply? The answer I want to say is no, right? It makes no sense. It just doesn't make sense. If you catch upside, congratulations. There might be some upside to play. There's obviously, short-term movements where you can catch a few points, make some money. But in the current situation, right, it just does not make sense in my eyes. I can't get behind an upside play. It's very difficult here. We might just sit here until earnings is released, right? We might just sit here until we get some more major earnings to release, and maybe that's the catalyst we need to either decide if this breaks out or if this rejects. Until then, we might just sort of sit here around this supply level. It is very clear, right? It is a very clear level. It is some major previous consolidation that has turned into some major rejections over the entire last week. So, I think you just have to come into today, and you really need to pay attention to this 13,200 to 13,250 level on the NASDAQ. I don't think that you can get that comfortable, to get there. I don't think you can be that comfortable playing upside into this zone. Of course, there might be some upside moves. There might be a few points to catch, but it's going to be really interesting in here between 13.2 and 13.250. Multiple previous rejections all last week. Previous support here, turning into rejections. A lot of resistance here. So watch 13.2, watch 13.250. I basically said this all last week, and we are still in the same spot. This morning, you guys can see if we go to the 5-minute chart, you can see it's just unwilling to get above that 13.2, right? You can see we pushed into it late day Friday, rejected. Pushed into it again this morning, rejected. Pushed into it just about an hour ago, rejected again. And you can see we're looking to push back into it. So we have to see what happens at this 13,200 level. If you really want to get aggressive today, right, if you're really only going to look for upside today and you really just, you're just like, I don't care, I'm looking for upside, I think the only play that you could possibly look for is a break and hold above 13.2, maybe for a move into 13.250. Maybe you can catch that move into 13.250. That would be like a play that I would be really cautious to take. If I was even to take that type of play, it would be with really light size. That would be the only upside that I could even, sort of get behind today, would be a break and hold above 13.2. If you get some consolidation above this level this morning, then maybe you could look for that 250 push. Maybe. But that's still a pretty hard sell for me in my eyes. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. As much as I see that supply stepping up here, the downside moves have not been that easy, right? They have rejected. We've seen some rejections off these levels. We've seen the rejections, rejection here, rejection here. We've seen the short-term rejections. But none of these rejections, when you really zoom out, none of these rejections are really amounting to anything to the downside. So if you do play a rejection here, you have to really trust the demand below, and you have to be a profit taker at the demand levels, right? You can't just hold these shorts and look for the next market tank, right? We're not shorting this supply with the mindset of the market dropping 20% in the next week, right? That is not your mindset if you were to trade these supply rejections. These supply rejections are, okay, I'm going to play off 13.2 and I'm going to take profit at 13.1 demand. Or I'm going to play 13.2 and I'm going to take profits at 12.950 demand, right? Because we have seen, yes, there has been rejections, but they have not amounted to much, right? Their demand is very clear down here at 12.950, And on Friday of last week, the demand was very clear here around 13.1. So you can't marry a downside move. You can't think that you're the greatest trader and you're catching the next market tank off this level. Right? That is not the mindset here. So I would say maybe we can look for 13.2 supply rejections today. Maybe we can look for that move back into Friday's lows, but that would be about the extent of where I'm comfortable. Asking for anything under Friday's lows is basically just asking for, I think, being a little bit too greedy, asking for a little bit too much. So if you're going to look to play supply rejections today, look for that 13.2, and then maybe you look for a target of 13.1 Friday's lows, right? That's where that would sort of be my target down here, around that 13.1. So that's really my levels today. Nothing really has changed. 13.2 supply, 13.1 demand, and then obviously the strong demand is down below on that retest, right? We talked about this retest. This is those previous highs, right, that have turned into a very clear demand down here. So 12,950, 12,900 demand, that's major, right? That has held this market up over the last few weeks. 13.2, 13,250 supply. Really, right, if we were to just erase this for a second, all this is, once again, is a channel trade. That's all it is. You trade it like a channel, and that's all you can do right now. If you have not traded, if you have not accepted that the market has been trading in a channel, and you trying to play breakouts and breakdowns, you lost every single time last week, right? If you can't accept these supply and demand levels, and all you're trading is breakouts and breakdowns, you lost every single time last week. So I would continue to look at this as a channel trade. I would look for those supply rejections of 13.2. I would look for the demand of 12,950, right? And that's all it is, right? That's all it is. This to this to this to this. Until the market proves to us that it wants to do this or it wants to do this, we continue to trust this, all right? And you don't go long here and you don't go short here. If you shorted here last week, you lost. If you longed up here last week, you lost, all right? It's the same thing over and over again. So that's how I usually, sort of outline my days. That's sort of what I'm watching. That's the mindset as I approach every day here. Just a channel trade. So watch out for it. All right. So that's the NASDAQ. Let's go to the ES. The ES is pretty much similar, pretty much the same. Here's the 4-hour chart on the ES. Are you going to be a long side trader into this level? It doesn't make any sense. Yes, it might work out for you, but I talked about this on. I actually talked about this on CPI last week, right? When we got that big push on CPI and even the big push on PPI, we said every time there's nothing that changes here. We are trading right into supply. You do not long at supply, no matter if CPI is bullish, no matter if PPI is bullish, no matter if the cow jumps over the moon. You can't go long at supply, and it showed you that exact thing last week, right? It showed you that if you long at supply, you likely lose. So watch this 4170 supply. Watch this 4200 supply. This whole zone up here looks very concerning in my eyes, right? I'm not going to be a long player in this zone. Just doesn't make sense. Even if I miss out on upside, I don't care because that just doesn't align with how I trade. For me to be confident on upside moving forward, maybe over the next week or two, I want to see a really strong push and hold above 4,200. I made a video about this like 2 weeks ago, all right? I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I said, watch out for 4,170, and I'm only looking for upside if we really get above 4,200. That's really, I believe, the strong upside move, right? 4,200 break and hold above. That's really the move that you want to see for a really strong and confirming upside move. So until that happens, be a little bit cautious on the upside in this 4170, 4200. On the downside, right, we have seen that 4100 demand step in very clearly. You guys can see right here, very clear demand, 4100, 4100, 4100. So if we do reject here, you can't ask for much more than 100 points or 70 points on the ES. All right, if we do get a rejection here, you are not asking for much more than 70 points on the ES, right? Because if you start to short down here, what has happened in the past? It bounced, and you're going to lose money. So 4170 to 4100, that seems to be your larger range here on the 4-hour chart. That's what I would be watching. On the shorter term time frames, maybe like this 4150, I think, is probably an important watch. That sort of was a key level last week. We saw some previous reactions around this 4150. Even this 4135, 4140 area was also pretty key. So I would say demand starts to step up, anywhere within this 4135 to around this 4150 zone. I probably would not want to be that short in that 4135 to 4150 area, right? We can see previous lows here. We can see previous rejections in this zone here. We see previous consolidation here, and we see this previous low here. So do I want to be that short, as we move lower into 4150, 4135 and potentially get stuck in something like this? No. All right. So you might have like a 4170 fade towards 4150 today, right? You might have a little 20-point fade. That could happen. I think that's a possible trade today, but I would be a little bit cautious as you start to approach these previous highs. You guys see these previous highs here at 4150, these previous lows at 4150. So am I going to start entering short positions at, pretty much Friday's lows and at these previous highs at 4150? No. All right. I'm not going to start shorting at 4150 today. That doesn't make sense in regard to supply and demand. So watch these 4150 highs, right? 4150 lows, 4150 highs, pretty much Friday's lows, a little bit of slippage under it, but you can see quickly getting bought back up above 4150. If we go to the 5-minute chart, you can sort of see how the reaction was at this 4150 on Friday. You can see, we got a little bit above below it, but it definitely started to find some demand in this zone. So am I going to short into Friday's lows? Probably not, right? If I'm going to look for shorts, it's going to be early morning off 4170 for that fade back into 4150 possibly. So larger time frame, right? 4-hour chart, you're obviously looking at the 4170 to 4100, but I think you sort of monitor this intermediary level between 4150 and 4135 as well. All right. SPY, we talked about this one, right? We talked about this one. We said do not long into 415 on the SPY. And what happened at 415 on the SPY? It's not hard, right? You should take. I'm not impressed, right? You shouldn't be impressed by me telling you not to. How am I trying to say this? It's not impressive that I tell you not to long into 415 and it actually works. He said don't short and don't long into that, and look what happened. It's not that impressive, right? Any of you guys can know that. All it is looking at the levels, right? We know this. This is easy. This is easy stuff. We just have to trust it. It's about trusting your strategy, trusting your levels. We know we can't long into 415, right? It's very obvious. If you went long at 415 on Friday morning, my regards. I send my regards. If you longed into 415 on Friday afternoon or Friday morning, because that is just simply, longing at the worst possible spot on the market is right here. And you can see the reaction of that move. I mean, it was pretty much textbook. I was spot on, but it's not like any of you guys can't be spot on as well. It's very clearly just a major rejection level, right? You can see even on this 4-hour chart, huge rejection 415, major rejection 415, triple top rejection at 415. Who is going to long at 415 at this level? Doesn't make sense. So we are very close to that 415 still. I still can't get behind long entries, right? It doesn't make sense. So I probably won't look long today, right? Unless we really get a hold above 415, unless we really get this, break and hold above and then really start to push, maybe that happens. But am I going to long into a triple top? No, absolutely not. So be careful on the longs into 415 today. Major demand down below is at 406. So that's about your 9-point range there, 415 to 406. Watch out for that. If we go to the hourly chart, it's at 410 again, isn't it? Yeah, it's that 410 again. That's our intermediary level. It's that 410. Look what happened on Friday, right? Right there, 410, right? 410, 410, 410, 410. All right, so 410 to 415, that's really your range today. You know, if you break under 410, if you see something like this, then maybe you go for that 406. So there's your levels on the SPY. Do not long in the 415, please. Even if the market goes up, right? Even if this happens, right? You guys got to accept, this is something that you have to accept in your trading. You have to accept your strategy, even if you're wrong, right? Even if the market does this today, if it does something like this, something crazy like this, and you said, hey, I don't really want to long in the 415. I'm not really comfortable longing here. It doesn't make sense. Even if the market does this today, you can't be upset. You can't go back. You can't come back the next day and say, oh, man, why didn't I long into the supply, right? It just doesn't make sense. Even if that happens, maybe you can react to it intraday, but you can't be, you got to just accept your levels. And to me, right, I accept that if the market sort of rallies through 415 today, I would accept that I'm probably going to miss it because it just doesn't align. So 415, 410, right? And then 406, that's sort of what I'm watching here. All right. Tesla. 4 hour on Tesla. Interesting chart here as we approach earnings. So earnings are on Wednesday morning, 4:19 after hours. I'm sorry, Wednesday afternoon, my bad. So you have Tesla Wednesday afternoon earnings. What happens before earnings? In my eyes, you can't look to long Tesla until it's above 190, right? Very clear 190 rejections for multiple times, right? You can see support, rejection, right? Look at this rejection on, on the 12th of last week. You can see we pushed into 190, heavy rejection off that level. So to look long on Tesla, you're going to need a really nice hold above 110, and then maybe you can start to see that upside again. But before Tesla's above 190, did I say 110? I meant 190. You can't get a long entry here until you get a nice hold above 190. That's what I would be looking for today. If there is some opportunity on Tesla before earnings, then maybe you have a little bit of action. Maybe you look for that 190 hold. Maybe that's your long entry to see if that happens today. If that does not happen today, I would look for the 190 rejections, right? I would look for the 190 rejections. That could be a very nice play today. I would look to see if Tesla trades back into 190, right? If Tesla starts to trade back into this heavy supply, this could really be a nice little fade, right? I could see that happening. If you start to trade back into these lows, you trade back into this rejection point from Wednesday. If you start to trade back into here, look for those rejections today. That might be a nice little pre-earnings fade. So maybe look for that. 190. It's all about 190 to both sides, right? You either look for this or you look for this, right? That's how I would trade Tesla. And the key thing to take away from here, and this is how I trade. So if you're here to listen to how I trade, then, great. I only want to trade Tesla around this zone. I don't care what Tesla does anywhere besides this zone up here, right? I'm not going to trade Tesla in the middle of this garbage action. I'm not going to start trying to short Tesla at 184 randomly just because I don't know. I just want to short Tesla, right? The only place that I have interest in either direction on Tesla is at a key level, right? The break and retest of a key level, because I know that is a level I can play off of. It's a level I can use as a stop. It's a level I know there will be reactions around. I only want to trade at key levels, right? And so I know 190 is a key level. So I only want to trade shorts if we're rejecting 190, and I only want to play longs if we are maintaining above 190. These are my only two entries that I'm interested in. If it doesn't happen here, then I'm not playing Tesla, right? That I think is something that maybe is hard for some to, get into their trading. You'd only need to trade at key levels. I think that will help you a lot to really minimize the amount of trades you're taking that aren't quality. Really look for those key levels and only trade at the key levels. That's how I trade. You guys know I trade break and retest. Break and retest is only happens at key levels. And for me, Tesla 190, that's the key level today. That's what I would watch. All right. Microsoft. What's the key? Whoa, what happened on Microsoft here? I think that's probably just a glitch candle. So what level am I watching on Microsoft today? What's the key level I'm watching on Microsoft today? For me, 290, right? 290 is the key level that I am watching on Microsoft today. Now, why is that? The reason I say 290 is because 290 was a previous high, right? A previous high and a previous high, right? I am interested in the previous high here. I am interested in the previous high here. And I am interested in the previous high here at 290. What did we get on the market? Bank of Canada news. I mean, it's just supply rejections. It's pretty much in line with everything we're already talking about, right? All it is a supply rejection of 4170. All it is a supply rejection of 13,200. So, no surprises there. And maybe some Bank of Canada news like you guys said, but hey, it's just the technicals are very much set in stone right now in my eyes. 4170 supply, 13.2 supply, clear as day. All right, back to Microsoft. So, the only area I'm interested in playing Microsoft is at 290. Do we get a retest of 290 today? Do we start to see demand step up? Do I look to long off the previous triple top high? If there's demand that steps up at that 290 level, then I would look to play this long on a break and retest of a previous triple top, right? If Microsoft is to fall back under 290, right? If we get a drop back under 290, if Microsoft comes back into 290 and starts to prove to me that it's going to reject, then I would look to play the short, all right? So I'm only looking to play Microsoft at 290. So either a break and retest to the down, right? Break and retest, turn 290, previous triple top into a demand looking for upside, or a break under 290, turn that 290 back into a rejection, back into a rejection, turn it back into a rejection, and then look for that downside fade. All right, so that's what I would watch on Microsoft today. See if there's any movement back to 290 and see if there's a reaction you can play off that. All right, Nvidia. So crazy Nvidia, man. Nvidia does not want to give up this 263 level. It just refuses to die. A lot of demand down here at 263, right? Previous highs, strong demand bounces, and pretty much Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, strong demand bounces. So support, right? Strong demand bounces at the 293 level. It just does not want to give up. If we go to the 15-minute chart, look at the last few trading days, right? Wednesday, Thursday, big bounce Thursday morning, and then all of Friday, right? And then a big bounce off 263. So, very clear, right? If Nvidia is at 263, are you going to start to short here? Are you going to start to short here? Has it worked out for people that have shorted Nvidia above 263, right? Does this look like it worked out on shorts? No, it has not. So we're not going to short Nvidia if it's at 263. It's as simple as that. If Nvidia starts to break under with aggressive, right? I want to see an aggressive break, and then starts to, reject, I would need a little bit of time here. I would need to see this do this for maybe an hour, 2 hours before really feeling comfortable on that downside. If you really start to see this break down and start to turn these previous lows into a rejection point, then maybe, right? Then maybe we can look for that downside move. Until then, right, we have to trust this demand and we have to know that it's very strong. Now, to the upside, right? To the upside, where do we have to watch out for if we go long? 269, very clearly, right? 269, very clearly. Previous rejections. If you chased Nvidia at 269 on Friday, you lost money. If you chased Nvidia Thursday afternoon at 269, you lost money. If you chased Nvidia longs at 269 on Wednesday, you lost money. All right? So we're not going to do that. We don't want to lose money. So we're not going to long at 269. Now, here's the other thing, right? Where's Nvidia? We talk about this all the time. Nvidia is pretty much at the 50% retracement of this channel. Are you going to trust Nvidia to either direction today at the exact center of the channel? No, right? We're not going to trade Nvidia at the exact center of this channel. We are going to wait for Nvidia to come to our key levels and then try to play the reactions. We are not going to trade Nvidia right at the center of this, right at the center of this channel. So we'll put this at 265, right? We are not going to trade Nvidia in the center of a channel. We're going to trade Nvidia either rejections up here or demand down here, right? So that's how you look at this. Nvidia, I have no interest in right now as of this morning. If Nvidia comes down to here, I'll look for demand. If Nvidia spikes up, I'll look for supply rejections. If it breaks out of the channel, I'll look for break and retests. If it breaks to the downside of the channel, I'll look for break and retests. These are the only 4 trades that I have any interest in Nvidia. And it just so happens that those 4 trades are only at key levels, right? So either demand off 263, supply off 269, break and retest for upside, break and retest for downside. That's it. That's all you look for. You ignore everything else. Makes your life a whole hell of a lot easier. AMD. This one is interesting. This is something that I sort of I might lose money on this because I'm feeling real confident in something like this, but hey, I don't know. This looks very similar. It's eerie. It's eerie how similar this setup is, how similar this chart is over the last 5 months, right? So let's just sort of walk through this chart. This is the 4-hour chart on AMD. This is a previous high back around $62 on AMD. We had a big breakout, and over the next month, we had this slow downside move. We came back, we retested the previous high, we had a breakout of a bull flag. Big breakout right here, big breakout to the upside over 76. Previous rejections, big breakout. Over the next month, we had a slow downside move back into the previous highs. Bull flag breakout. Again, previous highs, we had a big breakout. Over the next month, right now it's about a month right now. Over the previous month, we've had a slow downside move coming back into the previous breakout point. Does it do the same thing, right? Does it do the same thing? That is the question on AMD. Does this set up the exact same thing it set up 3 times over the last 5 months? That is something I will absolutely be watching on AMD. I don't know if it's setting up yet. It's going to have to really hold this 89.90 level, right? It's going to have to turn these previous highs into a new support, similar to what it did right here, right? You can see same thing here and same thing here. It's going to have to do the same thing right here, right? So we'll see what happens. This is just something I'm watching, right? I wouldn't just take this trade because you're like, oh, I'm just going to buy this because it's going to happen. Not really, right? I'm not really ready to see that. Yeah, you have this uptrending channel. It's pretty much this uptrending channel and then these little pullbacks in between it. That's all it is, right? You have big push, slide to the bottom of the channel, big push, slide to the bottom of the channel, big push, slide to the bottom of the channel. And all of this is just a bull flag breakout each time in this channel. So does it do it again? And does it sort of target the upside of that channel? I don't know. We'll see. But a very interesting chart. I thought this was a pretty, cool little setup here to be watching. Would be pretty cool to see it work out. I think everyone would just like to see the chart do what it's supposed to do. And if history repeats itself, this would be a pretty cool breakout. But obviously, we can't trade that until we start to see some kind of demand step up, some kind of confirmation. TSM. So TSM, I would really like to try to long this off of 83. It never came back to this level. So I'm not really that fond of TSM here, especially with earnings coming up. I would like to see this back to like 83, and then maybe there's a retest there, a retest of this previous rejection point. You'd also have earnings approaching. The reason I bring it up is just because I wanted to just share this little demand level that is holding on TSM. You guys could see right here, all these previous lows are turning into demand again. So could be an interesting watch off 87 pre-earnings. I'm not going to trade it personally. with earnings approaching. Not really a stock I do typically trade, but I just wanted to share this with you guys. 87, nice little bottom here that is holding once again. Could be a little bit of a push. Could be a little short-term action here up until like the 91s, right? But earnings are approaching, so maybe just wait post-earnings for this one. All right, Apple. So is Apple over one? Oh, Apple's over at 166. Yeah, but we got to watch out for this high. Let me actually duplicate this. So what was I looking on Apple? I think I was watching this 166 level. Yeah, so it actually is sort of breaking above. Let me just delete this for now. So 30-minute, let's get a little bit more time here. Probably see it better on the 30. Yeah, this is much better. All right, so 166, 165. I'm going to push it up to 166. It's really not 166, though. It's really 165.80. That's really where these highs are. What is this high? 165.80 exactly. 165.78, so pretty much exactly that. 165.80, exactly 165.80. 165.89. So yeah, it's really like this 165.80 area. You can see how many rejections have been here, right? Rejections, rejection. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's if you really focus on the candles on the 30-minute, right? Look at the candle, the body of the candles here on Friday, right? The bodies of the candles are actually below 165.80. There were some wicks above, but those bodies, right, closed and opened below 165.80. So if Apple turns 165.80 into support today, that could be interesting for upside. It could be interesting. I would say watch the wicks. You know, the wicks are definitely there. You guys can see those wicks from Friday around that 166.30 level. Pretty clearly there from Friday's action on the 5-minute chart. So I would watch those wicks. You can actually start to see the rejections coming in at those wicks. I would look to see what happens at 165.80 today. I think that's going to be your key level. If you break back under 165.80, I think there could be a supply rejection, similar to what you've seen in the past. Or if it holds above 165.80 and it starts to push above this 166.32, then, yeah, I think you could see upside continuation on a break and hold above this 165.80. So really, it's all about that 165.80 in my opinion here. Keep an eye on that today. If we're above it, see if demand holds. If we're below it, see if it turns into rejections on Apple. Google. All right. So big rejection on Google here. 109, right? We can clearly see that 109 rejection on Google, right? Look at this double top. We've talked about this multiple days last week. We said, please do not long Google into 109. It doesn't make sense. So rejection, rejection. And again, the same exact thing. Again, another double top. Double top at 109, clear as day. We are not longing Google into supply. It does not make sense. So I hope you guys avoided any longs there on Google. Over at 109, very clean rejections. Big downside this morning. Right into demand, right? Right into demand. This is going to be interesting. All right, you guys can see right here. Let me get a little bit more time here. 30-day, 1 hour. Google, downside, right into demand, right? You can see the demand at 104, right? You can see the demand at 104. So we're sort of holding that as we speak. So be careful, right? Just because Google went down this morning, if you are not in a put swing trade, you're actually not interested in downside here, right? If you are not in a put swing trade, then why are we looking for downside into a demand? Right? It doesn't make sense. So what you're going to have to see today, if you want to play Google continuation, you're going to have to see a break below 104. You're going to have to see a rejection of 104. And then you can maybe look to play that into the next 101 demand. But before that happens, right, you can't short at 104 just because there's a downside catalyst today. You can't just say, hey, you know, I think Google is going to 0 and I'm going to start shorting into demand. Doesn't make sense. So the downside play is actually gone, right? That downside play is gone. Now the next downside play is if you actually get below 104, if you turn 104 into a rejection, then you could set that up again. Before that, you have to trust the demand. Watch out for 104 to hold. Meta. I don't know what's going to happen on Meta. This is weird. It's a weird move in my eyes. You got earnings coming up. You're coming right into this, pretty crucial area here. You got this previous high here around 224. You got all these previous lows at 224. This is back in 2020. This is back in 2020. And you got all this consolidation here and rejection here at 224 on Meta. And you're trading right into it on some really low volume. I mean, if we zoom into the daily chart here, look at this volume over the last month. We had this really deep, heavy decline in volume here as we just sort of slide to the upside. So, some people would call this a bearish divergence, right? Some people would call this bearish divergence, volume decreasing with the price going up. Technically, that is what bearish divergence is. That's the definition of it. Does that actually mean anything? I don't know. I don't trade off bearish divergence, but that is exactly what that is. Earnings are approaching next week, I believe, on the 26th. So in about 10 days. Obviously not 10 days, 9 days, but we'll. What day is that? That's the 26th. What day is the 26th? 26th is next Wednesday. So next Wednesday you have earnings here. I don't know. I don't know. That's my answer for you folks out there. It's a strange move. I'm not going to really get involved here. When I see something like this, my opinion is you wait for next Wednesday and you just play the continuation, right? If next Wednesday we have a heavy rejection off this level, then I think you're going to have some nice juice, right? There's going to be plenty of money to be made here after Wednesday's earnings. So next week on Wednesday, Meta earnings, you're coming right into some major daily chart supply here around 224. Really low volume increase here. Bearish divergence in my eyes, but I'm not going to fight this trend, right? It does not make sense to fight this trend. If you shorted Meta since November of last year, you have not had a very good time. It's just not been a very good time. So I'm not going to just try to be the hero that changes that trend myself. I don't have enough money to change that trend. So for now, leave it alone. But yeah, watch that. All right, XLF. Hold on. Okay. XLF. I just wanted to point out this 33 level on the XLF. You guys can see right here. Previous lows. You can see we're trading back into that 33 level on the XLF. Be careful of this supply here. This could be a very interesting little break and retest on the XLF for further downside. If the banks start to see some weakness, just know it is because of a 33 supply rejection. So watch out for that on XLF, guys. Previous daily chart lows that are starting to seem like there's a little bit of a rejection there. So just be careful of that on the XLF, all right? All right, guys. It's getting a little late. I'm going to head out. I hope you guys have a fantastic trading day. Once again, I'll recap the futures as we start to head out. NASDAQ 12.3, or I'm sorry, 13.2, 12.3. 13.2, I'm dyslexic today. 13.2 supply on NASDAQ, 41.70 on the ES. That's what I would be watching today. I hope you guys have a fantastic trading day. Focus on those trading levels or those futures levels. Focus on supply and demand. Focus on risk reward. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the streams. Hopefully they're helping you prepare for the day. If they are, press the like button. Get us to 1,000 likes on the stream. We almost had 2,000 people here today. Interesting. So if you guys are enjoying, it seems like we're growing. So I appreciate your guys' support. I appreciate you showing up here every day. If you guys are showing up here every day, man, you're on the right path. If you're working for it, if you're trying to learn, you guys are doing the right thing. So continue to grind. If that's your ultimate goal is to be a trader, right? Be a successful trader. I feel honored that you show up every day here to learn. Hopefully the content is of value. I think it is, personally. I'm pretty confident that what we talk about here on the live stream is pretty accurate, right? I don't know how many times I've come back to this live stream and not been like, oh, yep, that technical level worked, right? Oh, yep, that futures level rejected, right? So keep coming back, keep learning the levels. Hopefully one day you don't need me, just do it yourself. Or maybe you just like to listen to me, listen to me every day. So thank you guys again. Have a fantastic day. Press the like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.